Hello. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. Our audio package got a little goofy there for a minute. I don't really know what's going on there, but much like the audio package, sometimes I don't know what to expect from our Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks came out tonight in a 9-10 playoff matchup. Dallas on the road. They defeated the Sacramento Kings 120-106, and the game was never really close. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I knew what to expect.
You did, and it's really... Guys, I got to tell you,
this wasn't a bit. Sometimes it's a bit. I legitimately knew they were going to win this game.
It was like the second quarter of Kings Warriors. And Josh goes, the Mavericks are going to make the playoffs. He didn't say they were going to beat the Kings. He said they're going to beat the Kings and whoever lost that game.
Yeah.
And quite candidly, we'll get to that and probably a little later in the show. That looks like a good bet. Dallas Mavericks came out tonight and, 80 started the first quarter really rough. Didn't matter. Everybody else, Klay Thompson really looked good. Najee Marshall played kind of a quiet, impressively brilliant point guard floor game for the Dallas Mavericks, really started things going. And the Kings just were unable. They were terrified of the Mavericks in the paint. Mm-hmm. And as the game went on, their assholes got tighter. I really don't even know how to talk about this game in a big picture sense, because I went on Sacramento sports radio earlier today and I said my X factors for this game were Spencer Dinwiddie or leading with Spencer Dinwiddie. I said Spencer Dinwiddie or Brandon Williams or Klay Thompson.
There you go. That's pretty good. 2 out of 3.
Right. Because I said, one of these guys needs to have a good game for the Mavericks to stand to beat the Kings. And when 2 of the 3 had really good games, Sacramento just didn't know what to do. I mean, Brandon Williams in that second quarter, because guys, the Mavericks had a 44-19 second quarter. The game was over at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And this was an impressive shit kicking because, and we'll talk about this, like Anthony Davis's box score sort of misconstrues his effectiveness on both ends of the floor. He had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 0 turnovers, which is interesting, but he was only 9 of 23 from the floor. However, he was 3 of 6 from 3 and then hit all 6 of his free throws. The Mavericks were brilliant from the free throw line tonight. Mm-hmm. But, it's like the Mavericks stomached an inefficient, because I don't want to say it was a bad Anthony Davis game. It was an inefficient Anthony Davis game. They stomached a inefficient Anthony Davis game because the guards were just lights out. And I was shocked. I was shocked. Tell me why you were so confident. I don't really understand.
Can I say something that's going to get me in trouble before I get into that?
Yeah, who cares?
I'm gonna be a little honest and say something that we talked about before we went on the air, because something that I think is important to me is that I think we all have biases when we talk about sports. And when you try to act like you don't have a bias or a blinder on, I think that's just silly, because I don't think there's anything wrong with, because we're humans. Like, you're allowed to have biases, like, especially when it's sports. Like, this isn't something, like, we're talking about a game. Like, I'm not covering something that actually matters. You know what I mean? Where it might be better to have some semblance of objectivity. But, like, it's a sport. We're talking about who's going to win or lose a sports game. Yeah. We're gonna have biases. So my bias is I want the Mavericks season to end. I'm just gonna be honest with everyone. Like, I wanted them to lose tonight. I want them to lose Friday. I don't want to cover a first round series, and that's not because I don't want fans to be happy. I don't want the players to win. It is purely a personal thing, because I have had a really awful.
We're fucking tired, man.
Lives. I'm very tired. I would love to have some days off. I would love to take a break. We both work full-time, high stress, 9-to-5 jobs during the day, and then we do this at night. I would like to go to sleep. So, like,
I would like to rest. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like the Mavericks to lose so I can get some game days off and nights off and go to sleep. See my wife, see my kid, and go with it. So if I feel, if you're listening to the pod and you're like, Josh, the Mavs won, why you're a little cranky or something, like you need to know. Like, I think the people, like, I need to be honest. People need to know that. So you can curtail all my takes with that in the back of your head. I just want to be upfront with everyone. Now, having said that, the reason why I thought the Mavericks were going to win this game is because healthy, like the Kings, they don't do anything against this Mavericks team. Like what the Kings are good at is stuff that the Mavericks can take away. Like the Kings are good at like dribble handoff, mid-range. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They shoot a lot of mid-range shots.
The Kings don't do anything is one of the funniest fucking sentences you've ever said.
But like, think about what the Mavericks want to do. Like, they will give up some threes to take away the mid-range and the paint. Mm-hmm. Well, the Kings don't really shoot a lot of threes. They're bottom third in the league in three-point rate. Like, the only guy on their team that shoots a lot of threes is Zach LaVine, and he's a very streaky player. So he didn't, and he was bad tonight. He made a couple toward the end. He had 20 points on 19 shots. So like, okay, so you got that, and then defensively, like the Kings, they've got like maybe two good defenders. Like Sabonis isn't a rim protector, and neither is really Valanciunas. They're big bodies and they get in the way, but they're not the kind of dynamic switching or covering the floor kind of type big men defenders. And then you've got like LaVine and Keegan Murray and DeRozan. Like Keon Ellis is a pretty good defender, but they just didn't. It was a woeful mismatch that just looked really obvious to me on paper because the Mavericks defensively, like they love guarding teams like the Kings, like a team that wants to try to score from the mid range and try to do stuff from inside out, get into the paint. Like the Mavericks are going to wall off the paint, and then they weren't really scared from three because they don't have enough 3-point shooters. Well, offensively, I thought the Mavericks executed well. I don't watch enough Kings, so I don't know if this is what they normally do, but the Kings were playing really close up on the perimeter. They were pressuring the ball, sometimes doing some full court, three-quarters court press, and then they were guarding way beyond the three-point line extended. And I don't know if that's how they normally play. If they do, forgive me. But if they don't, I have to imagine it was, well, they don't have Kyrie Irving. Let's take advantage of them not having a point guard. Well, the Mavericks roasted that. Like they beat that defense with like one dribble, and then there's nothing behind them. Because Sabonis is not a shot blocker and Valanciunas is not a great shot blocker either. So like they got past that easily because if you're guarding 40 feet from the basket and there's no one to help you because there's so much space between you and the basket, the Mavericks beat that and they had so much open space and they kind of picked them apart. And the Mavericks were the better coach team tonight. They were more well prepared and they had more advantages and they took advantage of it. So that's my take.
What do we make? And I mean, we gotta like, guys. It's you got to give Jason Kidd credit where credit is due.
Great coach game.
The Najee Marshall as the point guard with Derek Lively, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen that starting lineup yet. Not like there's been a lot of opportunity because everybody's been hurt in different points, but Najee Marshall as distributor, as sort of the quiet engine, is really fun.
And they're big.
Real.
That starting lineup is very big.
Real big. Like there was what was the inverted pick and roll that got Lively early in the game from Anthony Davis driving? Do you remember that?
It was at I don't know if I remember that one, but I remember they did run a couple of those. I mean, they opened the game with Klay coming off a down screen.
Great play. That was a great play.
And then he passed it right to Lively for a dunk. Yeah, well, taking advantage of that over aggressive defense,
Sure. So I'm going to pivot almost immediately from Najee because Najee's stat line isn't really indicative. His impact was felt way beyond his stat line, but Klay Thompson. So one of the things I forgot until somebody reminded me today was Klay Thompson was 0 for 10 last year with the Warriors in Sacramento in a play-in loss.
Yeah, that's how.
So he comes out tonight.
Warriors' tenure ended.
So this is wild, guys. He comes out tonight and misses his first 2 threes. He then hit his next 5 and really only missed one more shot.
Wow.
He was nuts.
16 points in the second quarter. He's the reason why they exploded in the second quarter.
Him and the Brandon Williams threes were effectively what put the game out of reach. And
you could tell like he knew, like I mean, he's mostly pretty calm and cool on the court. He does get demonstrative at times. But man, he was strutting after every made basket tonight. And I think after his final made basket, like he was really rubbing it in to the crowd. So like he was very much aware of what happened. Like that was still fresh in his mind.
It's wild, man. It was fun. And it's like, look, we got that one commenter who's being a bit of a, I don't know, let's just say unkind. Josh and I don't make enough money off of this to really justify the amount of time we put into this. I sort of drag Josh along kicking and screaming because I like doing it. But once we start doing it, I do think we like doing it. So it's like, realistically, like I've not taken any time for myself since my dad died a couple weeks ago. Like it's just, we're all sort of just muddying through. So when we say we're tired, it's not that we don't like the Mavericks. It's that this has just been a lot at once on top of like our own personal lives have like dragged into this. And that just makes it all a little bit too much. That said, when like we're talking about the game and when the game has some interesting elements to it, like this game did, like when the games have been boring, like I hated January because the games were boring
and they didn't matter because everyone's hurt. And
they're boring. Yeah. And that's the real bitch of it. And it's like, you spend 2.5 hours watching a basketball game, you at least want to be able to take something away from it. And it's like, Jason Kidd benching Spencer Dinwiddie tonight? Interesting.
Yeah.
Fucking interesting.
But didn't he lead the team in minutes this season?
He's led the team in minutes and games played. He has been a workhorse. He has proven me wrong in every single element of everything I said all year long.
But it was also absolutely the right call.
Absolutely the right call, because Spencer Dinwiddie is for a team, like he would play into the only things the Kings would do well defensively, like pound. Like the ball moved tonight. That's really like one of the they just, the ball moves and it was really fun to watch.
They had 41 made field goals, 29 assists on 41 made field goals.
Oh God, just really,
that's pretty good.
There.
Yeah,
really something
pretty good
there.
Man, Brandon Williams, very good. Can't say enough about how good he is, and I legit like. He will be on the team next year. Like I don't know what his deal that he signed right before the season ended.
He's made. Did you see what Bobby Marks tweeted?
No.
He made $47,000
on that last couple-day contract.
On the last couple-day contract. I have no idea if he makes anything extra for the play-in. Keep in mind that I'm sure to every single person in this that's listening to this, $47,000 might be some life-changing money.
Yeah.
But for an NBA player, even a guy like that, that's not a lot. And he was, what do we think? The third best Maverick tonight?
I mean, I'm a little biased, but I would say he was the second best.
He was dope, man.
Yeah.
I'm really it's nice to be happy for somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've had such a shit couple of weeks. I don't know. All right. Well, all right. So let's take a break here. We're going to insert some ads. I'm still figuring out the ad thing. I actually need to get together with my podcast guy because I think I must be doing something wrong because they're not inserting in the middle. But we're going to try again. So stay tuned. And that if those ads actually do appear, somebody tweet me tomorrow. I'll be interested to know, because if they're not inserting on this part, then I am doing something wrong, and we'll figure it out. Josh and I will be right back. Thank you so much. If you're listening to the show, you're a true diehard, and that's the kind of person that we want to have with us as we continue slogging along with this Mavs content during a little bit of a weird cycle in the fandom here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And that goes for YouTube, that goes for your podcast feed. All those sorts of things are very, very helpful to Josh and I over the long term. I've not responded to any YouTube comments lately. And that's just mainly because I've been lazy, but I read them all, and I'm very very grateful. All right, so I do want to mention something real quick that I think is at least, because there's a little bit of an elephant in the room with this. Literally yesterday, Josh and I had a 40-minute podcast where we used Nico Harrison as the human punching bag that he has opted into being. So it's a little bit, it's two competing ideas where we expressed extreme displeasure with Nico Harrison and everything he had to say. Then we're talking about how much fun it was to watch the Mavericks team. And I at least want to acknowledge the fact that those two ideas don't really mesh, because he built the team that we just watched that we're now kicking the shit out, or that we're now that we're like happy with watching. I just want to acknowledge that I don't necessarily think we're being hypocritical because it's two different sets of ideas at play, but I at least want to acknowledge it before somebody tells me I'm a moron.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and also they won the 9-10 game. Like they got to win Friday, and
which is hard to do.
Yeah, I know. I don't know 10 seats. I don't think 10 seats win a lot of games.
A 10 seed has not made the playoffs, I don't think, during the 6 years of this.
No.
So this would be a first if the Mavericks actually managed to do it.
Yeah.
And so it just I every now and again.
But that's why we've always said after all these Nico podcasts is we're like, it's not about the players, and that's why like anytime anyone's like, well, don't give this thing, it's like, no, everyone's been mostly cheering the players. We've been pretty consistent about that since the beginning of this whole ordeal.
Well, I chose today to be a day where I spend some time on the internet engaging with the old fan base, and a gentleman with like 9 followers really got after me, and I just was like, I want to talk to this guy for a minute. He's like, well, you're putting bad Mavs energy out into the universe, and like that's my favorite fucking thing with people when they want to talk with me, where it's like, let's blame Kirk for the Mavs choices, but we're all allowed to feel how we want to feel. It's a very interesting series of circumstances where it's like all Nico did was make things worse, and everyone except for apparently for Dave Pash, the announcer today on the ESPN broadcast, is like, all right, this guy's just got to stop. And what, in that respect, you just kind of got to be glad that you're not feeling crazy about how all this is going, and then you move on, because you never know. Like, we can't control what's going to happen with the Mavericks. I'm just going to continue to write the things that I want to write, express my ideas as I can. And now we'll circle back to the actual basketball. Was there anything that we missed?
I just want to say I love our guy Tim Legler, who I know hosts
a
show with your friend Adam. I love Legler. I think he's the best. I think he's the best studio guy right now that's on TV, and he's been that for a while. Love Legler, but I just want to shout out a really hilarious moment in the third quarter when the Mavericks were up like 21 or 23, and DeRozan made like 3 straight mid-range jumpers, cutting the Mavericks lead from like 26 to like 21 because the Mavericks were still scoring on the other side of the floor. Right. And Legler made a comment where he was like, it's like the third time DeRozan scored from that right baseline. Mavericks better watch out. Like, don't let, this lead shrink away. And I'm just like, it was just really funny because I was like, I don't think the 20-point lead is going to get whittled down in a quarter and a half with long 2-pointers. Like it was just funny. Like it's just like the Mavericks are going to be terrified. Yeah, they're that the DeRozan is making a bunch of 15 to 20 footers while they're up 23.
There's going to be, just because Mavericks fans we're all a thirsty bunch. Sports fans in general, there's going to be a push at some point in the summer for DeRozan, and that's the game I'm just going to reference, because he made shot after shot after shot, and it didn't matter.
Didn't matter at all. His defense was bad. He only, didn't matter. But I'm trying to think of like anything else.
I just noticed somebody we didn't even reference. Dante Exum in 19 minutes was brilliant.
Yeah, very good.
11 points, 6 assists. He had his little floater thing going. His attacking seemed to really mix up with what the other guards were doing. Daniel Gafford with his stat line doesn't do him justice. 9 points in 21 minutes.
The centers were good.
Yeah, the centers were good, and that's a value.
They made Sabonis look in bit like that.
Max Christie got destroyed while they were on the floor. I don't know what to make of that. That doesn't track with my brain.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that basically Exum and Williams took Christie and Dinwiddie's spots in the rotation, because Christie has been playing a lot. But like Christie, he has fallen off. He fell off in March and April. Late March and April. And I think the big thing was his defense fell off, and that's the thing. I think they have enough. I don't know if they have enough offense, but I think Kidd feels confident enough in his offense where if it's like, hey, if you're not giving me anything on the defensive, like if Christie's not like, okay, we'll play Exum, we'll play Brandon Williams. He's making shots. Like Klay's making shots. Najee's making shots. Like we don't need your shot making if you're going to be a zero defensively. Christie has kind of struggled a little bit on defense, but that's okay because he's a young player. Like he'll get better. But I think that's probably what went into it.
Sure. I mean, if anything, it should give you, with some of the guys who didn't have great games. One of the things that I like about a win like this is like there's some circumstances where you need every player to have a good game in order to win. Like, for example, playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's nice to see that the Mavericks got subpar games from certain players and they still kick the shit out of who they were playing.
Yeah, I bet you if you told most people Anthony Davis's stat line tonight, they'd be like, "Oh, well, the Mavericks lost by
6 or something."
Yeah, or just anything. You know? The turnovers were huge. Mavericks only had
9. Huge. That's so
that's
cool.
The game. I think that's the game, really, because everything else was
points
pretty
off
even.
Turnovers here difference. I'm going to go look this up. So the points off of turnovers. Oh, it's not. The Mavericks didn't score that many off of turnovers, all things considered.
Yeah, they had 18, so they only had a 3-point advantage in points off turnovers. But it's more just the extra possessions mattered. They got to the free. It was turnovers and free throws because they made 13 more free throws, and then they had 9 less turnovers. Like that's massive. That's absolutely massive. And then the only other thing I noticed, I'm talking if you've got a point, but the only other thing I really know, like anytime Sabonis touched the ball against Derek Lively, like I felt bad for Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
Like I legitimately felt bad. Like I was like, what is this? Because I don't watch a lot of Kings.
Yeah.
But when I do watch it, it's usually playoff games or important games. And I feel like every time I turn on an important Kings game, some guys just don't have it. And that's like, he's good for what he is, but my God, man. I mean, I was just like, I felt bad for him at times. Like he could not do anything. He couldn't do a single thing. Like he was as ineffective because I guess he's their best player, or is it DeRozan or Levine? I don't know. But he's kind of their hub. Like he makes everything that they do work when they are playing well. And he had nothing tonight.
It's really something.
Lively or Gafford or Davis.
So before we move on to a brief discussion about the Grizzlies, we don't got too much to say there. I do have to note. So I'm watching on the playback. So during the playback, instead of getting commercials or anything like that, I was able to see like in arena stuff, like game ops and things like that. And the Kings are one of a few teams that do a really fantastically fun segment called the Perfect Pump, where you get 3 people and they try to do the gas thing and they pump gas to try to match a certain dollar amount. Okay.
Awesome.
It's like a Price is Right game from when you were a kid. And one person went over and the next 2 people, 2 in a row, got the exact number they were supposed to get. And
That's
it was
hard.
like, yes. So the crowd was going nuts, louder than they were at any point during the actual game. So it was like, what the shit is that? It was awesome. I posted the link of it on my Twitter if you're at all interested. It was really funny to watch live. All right, last stuff. So any kind of early early, we're not going to do a preview. You and we don't have enough bandwidth before Friday. Any Mavs Grizzlies thoughts?
I think they're going to win. Because Jaren Jackson Jr. Does not play well against Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Double big lineup. I could see that giving the Mavericks some that's the Mavericks double bigs won't necessarily be.
Holy shit! The Kings have already fired Monty McNair.
The Mavericks have ended another franchise, which is really funny. I would fire him too after that game. Holy shit, man! I mean, that was awful. Jackson doesn't play big. Like he gets like 5 rebounds a game. So I mean, there's a chance for the Mavericks to bully them a little bit, even though the Grizzlies play double big. Edey is a rookie. You can make him look like a rookie. You can bully ball Jackson a little bit if you can get Gafford on him down low. Like I think Gafford can take care of him. The big thing is going to be 3-point shooting. Desmond Bane. Like the Grizzlies, I think, have a little bit more 3-point shooting, so the Mavericks can't get in a 3-point shooting contest because the Mavericks were 14 and 28 from 3. That's like really good for them. The Mavericks aren't, they don't, they want to keep this kind of a grinding, low-scoring points in the paint game. They don't want to get in a 3-point shooting contest. But Memphis has been a bleh team for like 2 months, Ja Morant doesn't seem like he's healthy. He sprained his ankle in that Warriors game. He finished it, but I don't know how healthy he's going to be. But I don't know. I don't like how the Grizzlies are playing. Their roster is weird.
Did you say the stat about the plus 500? I was only kind of listening. Sorry.
Well, yeah, they haven't. Go ahead, you say it.
They haven't beaten a Western Conference team with a above 500 record since January. The funny part about that is
the Mavericks haven't beaten. Yeah,
the Mavericks aren't above 500.
Well, and the Mavericks haven't beaten an above 500 team since February 12th. Mm-hmm. Or no,
wow.
They have one win against an above 500 team since February 12th.
Well, so that's really. And it
something.
Was the Pistons. So. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts other than the fact that an 8:30 Friday night game.
Do you think they're going to win? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
so let's just see here. The Mavs are a plus 220 to beat Memphis. That's an implied winning odd of 31%. Like, yes. And I don't say yes in like a negative fashion. I mainly say yes because I'm just like, it's technically a 4-day weekend for my children and I'm pre-tired. Right. And I'm just like, oh no, I gotta go. So I don't know. It'll be fun. I'm very interested to see what Zach Edey brings to the table. Like if you watched the game last night, everyone was like, Edey's killing them, blah, blah, blah. But then he was a +6 and Triple J can't rebound. So, right. I mean, it's styles make fights. And, if you come out and you use a complete, like one thing you got to give Kid is like the single game planning and like the series planning. He really amps it up. We have enough track record here. He does. He knows they know what they're doing. So I'm interested to see what they do. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, I am too.
Okay. Well, I told Josh 25 minutes. It's now 27 minutes. I think that is perfect. We're going to get out of Dodge. Everyone enjoy the rest of your night into your Thursday, Friday. And we will be back Friday night at some point. Everyone be good. And thank you so much to Miguel Dominguez. He says with the super chat, he says, thank you, gents, and all hail the great and holy defense. It's a great way to end the show. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe with Pod Maverick After Dark. Thank you so much for your time. Go Mavs.